Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about some of Mythic Games' lineup in terms of their games that they've released and they are bringing out. Now, I wanted to go through 4 games. I'm first going to talk about Held the Last Saga, then I'm going to go on to Solomon Kane, moving on to Joan of Arc, and then Super Fantasy Brawl. And I just wanted to give my thoughts really about these 4 games, where they are at the moment and where they stand at the moment, and what I feel about them. Now, obviously, there's been some updates recently, some good, some not so good, and I want to talk about those as well. So, without further ado, I don't want this to be a really, really long video. I just want to see what people are thinking, really. So, please do comment below if you've got any other comments or you agree, disagree, whatever it might be. Now, I'm frozen. Give me 2 seconds. We'll just let the computer catch up. Okay, so sorry if that came out the same as it did on mine. It seemed to not work very well. So I'm going to go on to Tabletop Simulator. I'm going to attempt to go on Tabletop Simulator just to show you the mod, the Tabletop Simulator mod that Mythic's released for us to use for the first 2 scenarios of the song that they've been demoing at conventions, which they are demoing at the moment. So I believe even at this minute, Sam Healy's demoing some Hell the Last Saga. So let's give this a go, and we'll see how we go. So Tabletop Simulator is a fantastic piece of software. If you want to play any types of board games remotely, playing against people in America, whatever it might be. I mean, at the moment, there's a game called Marvel Crisis Protocol, which I really do enjoy, and I've invested into that. And I'm playing in the league there. I'm not very good. I haven't played many games. I'm not very good, but it's really fun. And some of the mods that people have produced on this program are fantastic. You do need to buy it. It's not ridiculously expensive, and all of these mods are completely free. So, as you can see, we're in the first scenario. So this is the board. You've got the tokens that you can obviously move around and flip and so forth. And you've got the board where you can get your miniatures and you can place them on the board and move them around. Okay, just talking about the miniatures. Ooh, they are really nice. That's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. I just wondered if I could... the renders that they've used are really nice. I don't know how I can... I'll just zoom in. And they, I really like the 3D renders, but they also give you the chance to play with the standees versions as well. So if you want kind of like to see them in their painted glory, as it were, you can do that as well. Everything is completely playable, just like you would do normally. You can place wounds onto these, absolutely fine. You can place the 2 on there. I don't know if have they done? Yeah, they've used it so they're flippable to go from 1 to 2. Really, really nice, and then all the information's on there. I'm not going to go through how to play the game. I just wanted to show you the mod. If you haven't had a chance to play it in a convention, as I said, Sam Healy's running a few demos through the next few days, so it's probably worth catching up with that first. But then you can just play with your friends, see what it plays like at different player counts, and just run with this mod and see how it plays. I'm definitely going to be doing that myself. So you've got your dice and everything else. You've got the clan board. Everything seems like it's there. I mean, it sets everything up for you for the scenario. So you choose scenario 1 or scenario 2 as a mod. So rather than Hell the Last Saga, the mod, they've actually done the scenarios as separate mods on Tabletop Simulator. So you have to download each one. They've got them in English and French as well. Everything's there. Hostiles. You've got all of the figures in here that you can drag out. So if you want to get a menace, you can grab them out. I don't know if they've got alternate sculpts or not, but yeah, we'll see. They've got the rulebook that's in its current state, and they've of course got the storybook, which is essential, which has got all the narrative and all the paragraphs that you need to read about stuff and how you set up the scenario. So if I bring it back, this is kind of all done for you. when you load up the mod on the scenario, all of this stuff is there ready for you to just get playing, basically, which is really fantastic, because what you want to kind of do is get straight in the action and test out different character combinations. I mean, that's what I'm most excited about, is just trying different ones, trying it solo, trying it with some friends, and just seeing how the game plays in its core from one to the other. So yeah, really excited to see how this all plays. It's really great that we've now got this mod. If you've been watching the updates or the lives, they've said that they will, in the final product, they will be changing these scenarios, so it does look different, and it will be very different. So you're not kind of like ruining the start of your journey in Hell the Last Saga by playing these 2 scenarios from Hell the Last Saga. Okay, so that's all I kind of wanted to show you on Tabletop Simulator. It looks fantastic. It's literally just like the one that I have demoed back in Gen Con, except for it's just been polished up a little bit neater. Things are organised much better. So all in all, it's looking much better. And there's all of the characters as well. Okay, so let's come out of this. This could take a little while, so apologies. And I want to move on to Solomon Kane. So give me 2 seconds. So Solomon Kane, we got a fantastic update, if you ask me. The one just gone this week, where they showed the production miniatures and some stills from those. Now, Sam said in the kind of update, Mythic's update on YouTube, that these weren't all the photos that were taken. These were just the ones to show kind of production and how the miniatures fit into the boxes. So it's a shame we didn't get to see how they're storing all the cards, the tokens, the boards, and everything else, because we just saw cardboard boxes as inserts into different sections of the box. So it would have been nicer to see a bit more fuller, but I'm sure Leo will do a live unboxing at some point, and then we'll be able to see exactly, what the box is going to entail. And I always look forward to those myself. So I just want to go through some of the miniatures that we saw, in case you didn't point them out. And this was one of the first ones, which we can see is a stretch goal, number 5. But you've got so many characters here, and the quality is fantastic. I mean, we're used to it with Mythic Games, right? Their miniatures are their bread and butter, and that is what we've come to expect. But I love the fact they're using the ABS and PVC on these weapons to make sure they are as straight as a die. The bases, as we know, are all kind of unique. I mean, that's massive for a painter. In me, that's huge. So yeah, we've got some guards in here. We've got the skeleton, as it were, the wolves, and lots of characters up the top as well. So plenty to see in that particular one there. The next one, we had some of the ghosts, which was quite important. So this is the core box, number 1. So you see Jack Hollinser, and then we got a lot of the other ones, Gideon and so forth, the citizens and some thugs, and of course the ghosts as well. So really looking nice. The sculpts look lovely. I love the fact that they've got an individual place. That really pleases me as a painter. I really like it when they've got an insert which has got a place for each model rather than just like a bag of models, which it could have done. So really pleased about that. And they're looking fantastic. The butcher, or is that the innkeeper? Looking so good. Now if we move to the next one, we got some of the virtues, of course. Oh, man, if you had the chance to, when they were demoing Solomon Kane way back in some of the conventions, if you had the chance to kind of like see these miniatures up close or even feel them, they were phenomenal. I really cannot wait to get those in my hands. And then Gideon the Ghost as well there, which was showing. So we've got quite a few miniatures in there. They're quite the taller ones. I like the fact they've got a cover as well, which will protect the tops as well, especially when they're painted. Then we got the riders from that stretch goal expansion, I believe it was. The 4 riders. And just look at the sculpts, absolutely beautiful. I mean, I've got Lord of the Rings from Games Workshop, and the Rohan riders. I loved painting those with the horses and the Rohan riders. This is just the next level. The quality of the miniatures, just looking at this one still, is just phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic. Then we got the wolf, the alpha, the bear, nightmare. No, darkness, sorry, as a virtue, the ogre. And then if you look behind the ogre, you can see a base of something else. Not 100% sure what that's the base for, but there are miniatures behind these two as well. So behind darkness and behind the ogre are two more miniatures which we can't see. And that's a shame, because it's a shame we didn't get more pictures that we could really salivate over as we see how it's all stored up. But again, just look at the ogre miniature, just phenomenal. And as Leo was saying on his lives when he showed these miniatures at first, they're so close to the resin masters that they used, and to get that quality is just great, absolutely great. I just cannot wait. Now, the negative side was, it seemed, I think, well, to be honest, with any Kickstarter, and especially I think it comes true with Mythic Games, because they do tend to try to be transparent and try and say, it's going to be latest date we're going to get for the ships leaving is going to be the beginning of October, and then they change 3 weeks later to actually it's going to be delayed again. Now, obviously, we're in troubled times, so expect delays anyway across the board. I am with all my Kickstarters. That's not a problem. But we do know that, by looking at these, that miniatures are being done. The box insert's fine. We obviously saw a few weeks back now Leo kind of unboxing a prototype version with no miniatures, but all of the boards and the cards and everything else, everything looked absolutely amazing. So we know that things are really progressed and pretty much finished in terms of production. We just got to wait for more of concrete news, I guess, of when things are going to come. But it will come, and I think that's important to note. Like in other Kickstarters, they just don't tell you about deliveries at all until it's literally about to be delivered. So I do appreciate Mythics, and they've always been like this. Mythics kind of communication, but it is it can be a bit of a sore point when they say one thing and then it gets delayed and it gets changed to another. But I think that's just the nature of the times we're in at the moment, and the nature of the beast, as it were. But Solomon Kane, really looking forward to it. Another hugely narrative game, just like Hell the Last Saga, but one that's coming very soon. Well, Wave 1, we should point out that that's not all of Solomon Kane. We've got the whole of all the expansions in Wave 2 to come as well. Now, Joan of Arc, being a 1.0 backer, and pretty much now painted all of my my core reliquary and a few of the big monsters. It's my number one game, pretty much. Number one board game out of all board games. So that beats Blood Rage, it beats Black Rose Wars, a lot of other ones which were really much going to be the number ones. But Joan of Arc, I've been playing it a fair amount recently, remotely, which has been really good, and it works very well. It does take a bit of time, but it works so well, and it's such a lovely game. I mean, having the scenarios as being very different and very unique, having their own rules, I really like that. It gives it a rich gameplay, and you can replay it. It's very replayable, even though the scenarios stay the same. Your tactics will change. As you replay it over and over again, you'll pick up new tactics, and then you'll have to adapt, or your opponent will know, if you're playing the same opponent, that is, or someone with similar experience, you will start to have to figure out new tactics. The battle mode is fantastic as well. I've played that before lockdown against a friend of mine, and it was great, just like choosing your armies and then battling out just like a normal skirmish game. So to have that mode is fantastic. Again, it's not perfect, okay? So when it first came out, there were a lot of balance issues, which obviously Mythic's been working really hard and tirelessly on to try and get that ready and get that all sorted for 1.5 release. So when that comes out, it's going to be much more balanced, much more refined, a lot clearer, and not as much ambiguity, which was really a problem in 1.0. For me, it didn't really matter, because especially because when I play games, if I get rules slightly wrong, if I play them slightly different, it doesn't tar the enjoyment of the game. I might go afterwards and go, actually, yeah, that didn't make sense, so we should have perhaps done it that rule. But it doesn't bother me that much. If the core game and the mechanics and everything is something I really enjoy, then I'm going to love it no matter what I do. And that's certainly seemed to be true of all the game groups. So played this with many people, many different game groups, and yeah, they've all really unanimously loved it. Obviously, with the biggest negative, setup time and teardown time. I mean, there's no way going against that. I think as another kind of a sore point, I guess, is what's this deluxe storage box solution going to look like? It'd be fantastic to see that whenever we can really, but that could be quite a while before we see that. Obviously, they're going to be working on a lot of things before that comes out. But really excited to see what that's going to look like. That, for me, that's going to be a really big part of that storage box. The other thing, obviously, there's some scenarios which were kind of told that we'll be getting way back when the release of 1.0, but they have been addressing those issues very recently and saying the fact that they will be coming in 1.5, of course. Hopefully they release them to us through their website, so we can play them before the 1.5 comes up for those of us with 1.0. But yeah, that's a bit of a shame, because especially with the solo, I don't think we can underestimate the climate of board gamers and how important solo modes are. A lot of my videos I do on this channel have been about solo modes of different board games, from Blood Rage to Batman Gotham City Chronicles, Blood Rose Wars, and lots and lots of other ones. Black Rose Wars, sorry. Lots of games that I've been finding either solo modes for or helping develop, in the case of Western Legends, to enable that itch of playing your games when you can't get together as a group. Now, obviously, in the current situation we're in, that's quite important. But obviously, before that, maybe even after, when things hopefully go back to normal at some point soon, we'll get back to game groups. You can't always go to a game group every night. You know, I've got a family, I've got kids. I don't have loads of free time, so I tend to do things later in the evening, and like this. And it's great to be able to get like a game board out and play it solo. So to have those scenarios is going to be really important. I think that's what the community is really shouting out for, is those solo co-op scenarios. That's going to be really important. The other thing which I'm really want to hear a bit more about is the scenario generator. We were promised that we were going to get a scenario generator where we can basically create our own scenarios. We can build our own maps, put our own troops, set up rules and all the rest of it, and then pass it out to the community. I think that's going to be so strong, and really haven't heard anything about that for a year. So it'd be really important, I think, and I think that's be something really important to bring out and just update us with. If they literally say, yeah, that's not going to come out until 1.5, fine. But just a little bit of information about, has that still continued with development? Because I'm pretty sure they showed some prototyping way back, and we're talking like probably a year and a half ago now, if not even more, where they show some prototyping of that scenario generator. So still things to kind of, I'm hoping they reveal or update us on at some point soon with Joan of Arc. But my number one game, I absolutely love this game. The miniatures, especially the units themselves, are absolutely phenomenal. They're so nice to paint. They look so good on the table. This was a contrasting, I think this was a basing video I did actually, and I painted some of the units with contrast, really quick and easy, looks good on the table, and then because the quality of that 16mm miniature is just outstanding. I've got one last picture, and of course they've got the big beasties. So the dragon, that miniature, it's not a miniature, it's not a miniature, is it? It's just an utcher. It's just so good. The detail, the pose, everything about that model I absolutely love. And whenever you get that out in the board game group, or even just show it on to friends or photos or whatever it might be, they always are absolutely in awe of that model. D&D players especially. So this was the dragon scenario. This is just a screenshot from that, and it just a great scenario, really good fun, and playing that dragon, especially with the updated 1.5 rules, is just so much fun. It's a great game. So really looking forward to 1.5, where I can get my hands on the rest of the content, because I've got the core reliquary, the dragon, the devil, and Ars Nova, and they're the only ones I've got. So I'm really looking forward to the apocalypse. I mean, the models in the apocalypse, wow. The siege, can't wait to see how that plays myself in person, with a slight different tweak in terms of the game. So lots of things to look forward to. It's obviously a bit off yet. I think the pledge manager is still open for a little while to kind of jump on board. But yeah, I absolutely love this game, and I demoed this game quite predominantly through being an ambassador for Mythic Games last year, or just over a year ago. So Joan of Arc, a lot to be excited for, but again, it's a bit more information about some aspects of it would be really, really handy. Obviously, it's really good news that the whole legal issue has been solved, and we're back to seeing the Kickstarter page and seeing what's going on with Joan of Arc. Okay, finally, Super Fantasy Brawl. I didn't bother getting any stills of this because we've already seen backers have already started to receive it. Obviously, they've mentioned all this on the lives and updates, so I'm not going to go through it too much. This game, wow, this game is so much fun. And, you know, if there's one game I say you want to demo at any conventions, and especially the one PAX, is it PAX West at the moment? PAX East? Sorry, I'm not sure. Whatever the convention is at the moment. Super Fantasy Brawl, if you've not played it, that'll be the one I would say just go for. Definitely go for it. It's not going to take you long. It won't take you hours and hours and hours to play a demo. But once you get to play it and you get a few rounds in, you start to get a feel of what the game's about, and then you play it more and more, and it just gets better and better and better. And if you've seen the unboxing videos by a few different people have done it, obviously they've done it at Mythic with Leo, you'll just see the quality of everything. I, for one, really like the game trays. I think that's a bit of a diversive kind of option to have these massive trays. They are absolutely massive. I mean, in terms of space, you don't need them like that, but they're going to protect those miniatures. I can take kind of like trays of characters to that are going to be my my 5 players into competitive play or whatever it might be. So I really like that aspect of it, that you can just put everything back into those trays and back into that box, and then you've got that one box. Obviously going to have expansion boxes that you can take, and to be honest, you might, I'm not going to take the whole cardboard box to every to a tournament or whatever. You would literally take the game trays with the characters you want, and then your mat and all the rest of it. I cannot wait for this game to arrive. I'm going to be doing an unboxing. I'm going to be doing painting, live streams. I'm going to do some playthroughs and everything else. I think this is one game that's going to be really accessible, and I really hope it does do well. I really, really do. So it can go from strength to strength. But we'll have to wait and see. We did a little tournament back in the summer in August, and we just did that on Tabletopia, the free one, which is still on there, and you can still play it on there. And it was really good. It was just good fun just to play a few games of Super Fantasy Brawl. And I know that the winner of that, who was Thagor, he was running a French league with like 30 players, and it was really successful. So I think there's a lot of buzz for this, and judging by the hype from some of the Asian backers who are living in Asia, who are starting to show those unboxing and all the rest of it, it's looking really, really strong. Now, obviously, there's some negative points to this as well. It's a shame about the delay. I'm Europe, so we're just all of us, of course, around the world, are just really itching to get this game in our hands. And it's just another wait, but it's coming very soon. So 24th, I think, was the latest ETA to get to the hub. Obviously, it's got to be all processed and then sent out and then get delivered. So it's, we're probably looking at the start of October, to be honest, if we're being realistic about it. Around about that time that we us in Europe should be receiving it. I think the US will get it before us, certainly into doors. But we'll see. It'll be thereabouts. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. I really do hope that it does go from strength to strength and it builds up a community and an organised play, and it gets supported by that from Mythic Games. So that's going to be really, really important, and I hope that does take off and it does hit its stride. Really like the pricing. If you have a look on the kind of pre-orders and everything in all online game stores and stuff like that, the price is very good, very, very good. It's highly competitive in terms of other games. You're getting the miniatures, which are just beautiful, the card decks and everything else, and it comes in the game trays. They're going to be doing, I think that's true. They're going to be doing game trays for everything. So I like that personally, but some people will be like, well, it's too much space for what you get. So Super Fantasy Brawl coming very soon. Really excited about that. But Mythic Games in general, I was really lucky back in 2018, I want to say. What was it? 2019, sorry. When we, in the community in Discord, a few of us managed, the UK guys in Discord, managed to get to demo in UK Games Expo. When kind of Joan of Arc was just starting to get delivered to backers, and it was just an example of how much the community means to Mythic Games, and that was when Az was around, and it was a fantastic time. We met other backers, so the other backers that were lucky enough to head down to UK Games Expo and do some demoing, and it was a real joy. It was hard work, but it was a real joy, and to get into that community and kind of get a little bit back, I guess, from what we received. And then the community has just moved from strength to strength to strength. And it's testament that it's still standing today, and we've still got the same old faces that pop up all the time, which is so nice to see. And I think I just hope that just continues, that we get that kind of community, that communication, and the drive from everyone involved in it, because that just makes the games. It really does. And I love Mythic Games' games. I haven't backed the Steam Watchers. I've not backed that one, so I don't know what that's going to be like. It wasn't really something that tickled my fancy, it seemed. But the other games that I've mentioned, literally these 4 games, cannot wait. Oh, also Reichbusters. I should mention Reichbusters. Reichbusters is something which I've played a bit and absolutely loved. I just didn't have the bank balance to go in for it. So it might be something I'll pick up later down the line. I reckon there's been little inklings of something new coming to Reichbusters, so maybe there'll be a sequel or something like that, and then you can pick up obviously the first one. And with Time of Legends, Joan of Arc, it'd be interesting to see if they do expand that, because I'm not 100% sure what the legal, obviously it was about the naming and it's about the IP, the intellectual property and the designer of the game and their stake in it. But if it moves away from Joan of Arc, is that going to be an issue? Can they do some different ones? Because I know that certainly when Joan of Arc we were waiting for it to be delivered, there was a lot of chat, and it's been a recurrent chat discussion point about different Time of Legends ideas. So whether they can call it Time of Legends or whether they call it just completely something different and just follow the same kind of idea with 16 mil, big scenarios, battle mode, maybe some compatibility between them. They might not be able to do that, obviously, but it'd be really interesting to see what comes up further on. Obviously, Darkest Dungeon is obviously the most recent. We're still waiting on when they're going to start the Kickstarter for that. I think it's been really sensible and really good that they're waiting until kind of like Super Fantasy Brawl's kind of been delivered by majority before they actually start the next Kickstarter, because that was between kind of Joan of Arc, 1.0 being delivered, and then Rightbusters coming, there was a lot of uncertainty, and I think it's fair to say the confidence got a bit shooken. It was really good that Rightbusters got delivered. It didn't have it. It did have its faults, of course, which we're all aware of. But again, it's good that Mythic are trying to solve those issues. And now with Super Fantasy Brawl being delivered, it's really I think the confidence has started to build back up again. It certainly has with me, and I think it's true with a lot of Mythic fans and backers. So I just hope by the end of the year we all have Solomon Kane. My big worry is that gets delayed because of maybe things that are outside of Mythic's control, and that might certainly happen. That's just the nature of where we are at the moment. But I really, really hope that does, because that will build so much more confidence, and they can go on new Kickstarters, new projects, whatever I'm sure they are working on. That they're not telling us. But Leo's good for spoiling a lot, so I will keep listening to his lives and just see if there's anything new coming out of the woodwork. But obviously Darkest Dungeon is the latest one, and that's where all the energy is focused for the new stuff at the moment. But the miniatures for Mythic are just brilliant. But it's not just the miniatures. That is a big part. And I'm a big miniatures fan. I do love my painting, and I do love miniatures on the board. But it's the games as well, and the mechanics and how the games play. They're just so good. Rightbusters is really fun dungeon crawl. It's a really, really fun dungeon crawl. And if you haven't tried it, you must try it out. Super Fantasy Brawl is an absolutely brilliant arena card game. Absolutely amazing. I've played plenty of them, and that is by far my favourite. Solomon Kane, I demoed it way back in its first iteration. At convention, and I absolutely loved it. The table talk, the cooperative nature of it, the story driven mechanics of the game, absolutely brilliant. So I cannot wait for that. It's a shame we haven't seen any kind of gameplays of the kind of modified what it's like now in the States, because we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen a Solomon Kane playthrough or anything like that for a year or so. I think I could be wrong there, but it's been a long time. So it would be quite nice to see a little bit of a gameplay. Perhaps when Mythic get their first, what do you call it? Kind of like when they check things through, that copy. When they get that copy through, or several of those copies through, hopefully they can kind of just do a video and show us Solomon Kane and a playthrough of one of the scenarios. Because I think we're missing that. So yeah. Solomon Kane, absolutely love it. Hell, the Last Saga, I've played the demos of those scenarios at the conventions and absolutely loved it. It really just cemented what I really hoped the game would be. Obviously, it's very hard to tell because it's a very small part of that game, but it certainly is looking promising. And now we've got the tabletop simulator mod. I can start playing it with my other friends in the game group, so they can kind of see what I'm shouting about in terms of this game. Excuse me. So, plenty in the near future to look forward to. It would be really good. They were talking about kind of organising a Super Fantasy Brawl tournament. I think it was Tabletopia tournament. But more of a organised Mythic style one, where we hopefully get a lot of people in. There'll be different rounds. I mean, as I was saying, this MCP, this Marvel Crisis Protocol, what they've done is they've set up this league, and they're in the third season. So this is the third season. In the first one, they had like 20 players. In the second one, I don't know. I think they had like nearly 100. Now they've got like 250 players. I think I might have got that slightly. No, there's not that many. Basically, it's kind of doubled up, or even tripled up each season. So it shows that if you build up a base, and then you get a bit of buzz about it, then it keeps building up and keeps building up. And that's what I think they perhaps need to do when Super Fantasy Brawl, even when it releases, let's say, in the next few weeks. Organise a tournament in October, starting from October, and that'll be like the first season. So they can kind of do it in league seasons, and just run some leagues, try and get some players in. They may not be many to start with, but once they finish that first league, they'll start to get more interest, and then it will do the second one, it'll get more interest, and so forth. So hopefully they follow that kind of format. I think it's really worked well for Marvel Crisis Protocol, so I don't see why it can't work well for Super Fantasy Brawl. Now, I know that Super Fantasy Brawl probably isn't as popular as Marvel Crisis Protocol. I mean, that has blown up a little bit, blown up massive, but I think it's got the potential to certainly be much bigger. So fingers crossed. I mean, it hasn't got the IP of Marvel, of course, which is a big part. But, you know, it's got the game in it to be exceptionally good. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully an announcement of some kind of tournament. I'll be definitely game for getting involved with that. And, yeah, and just keep playing some Mythic games along with some other stuff. You can play them remote. It's, you know, board games. It's still available with all of our technology and all the Zoom and FaceTime and all of that. You can use all of that to play remotely and keep playing board games while we're remotely in these situations we're in. So this was completely live, so sorry for the unedited playthrough. It just means that I don't have to go through post-production, which I didn't have time for. And I just wanted to get my thoughts out there for these 4 games, but Mythic in general. And you know, it's gone through some changes, as companies do. You know, it can be very divisive too, but for me, they're producing games which I'm really excited about. I've not actually played Darkest Dungeon, the computer game, so that's why I haven't jumped on or been too excited about the board game. But I'll be really interested to see what people thought about, if they've played the demo of Darkest Dungeon, whether they thought it was it really gave them the same feel as the computer game, because that computer game was very popular. So it's really cool that they've got an IP, and that's the next one. I think that's a massive step, which will help Mythic to kind of build up their popularity with perhaps people who haven't backed their games before. So really nice to have an IP. I think it's a clever IP to get as well, because their miniatures are fantastic. What they've done with the miniatures, because I've seen Darkest Dungeon, the video game, but what they've done with their miniatures is absolutely sublime. They look absolutely brilliant. So yeah, they're quite tempted just to get it for them. But yeah, I think it's one that if you've played Darkest Dungeon, you're probably going to be really quite keen on the board game. And we'll see what they're coming from that point. I do hope they get some more IPs down the road, and maybe try some different games with those, because they certainly know how to nail the game mechanics of their games. It certainly seems that way so far. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing what's coming up in the future with Mythic. Okay, guys. So yeah, that was my little thoughts on some of the games and what's kind of happening on. I definitely would get onto Tabletop Simulator if you've got it, to try out Hell, try it with your friends, try it with your gaming group. You've got the rule book there. You've got the song book, which is the most important bit, which tells you how to set up and the narrative side of everything. Yeah, and just have a blast. It's such a good game. Just make sure you know how to play the game before you demo it to friends in board game groups before, because that could be a massive disadvantage if you have to keep referring to rules, or you know, it doesn't flow. Okay, and let me know your comments. What do you think about Mythic? What do you think about those games or other Mythic games? Are they your favourite board games, or do you like other different types of board games? What kind of board games do you wish Mythic would create in the future? Really interesting. I think it'd be. I think they're always going to tie them to miniatures, right? I think that's Mythic's calling card is miniatures. So it'll always be something linked to miniatures. But it'd be interesting to see what they do produce in the future. Okay.